Creative Living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
Welcome to Creative Living today. We're going to talk about various gemstones and learn their meanings. We'll show how to create puckers in fabric for an interesting background design, and we'll show how to use some simply elaborate stencils. Did you know that amber is a soothing, calming, and cleansing gemstone? Christina Rachel is a jewelry designer, and she's going to talk about various gemstones and explain their metaphysical meanings. Her company is Rachel Claire Collection, and she lives in San Jose, California. Another guest is Patty Dunn, and she's going to demonstrate how to use elastic in the bobbin of the sewing machine to get a puckered effect. After the seam is stitched, all you need is steam to create the look. Her business is All Done Designs, and she's from Corpus Christi, Texas. We all know that stencils are a classic art form. Sarah Maurer is with Royal Co., and she'll show how to create beautiful artwork by simply tracing. You can even use the edges to create coordinating frames and borders. She's from Anderson, South Carolina. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us today. And you're going to show us a way to use stencils, and something that I thought had sort of passed by. I still see the 1, 2, 3 and the ABC stencils. My kids and grandkids have always liked to do that. But stenciling's come a long way, hasn't it?
It sure has. As you know, I mean, the ABC stencils are still around. Of course, children still love to use those. But we have some new stencils that are basic to more complex designs.
And one thing, I hadn't thought about using them to create home decor items.
Yes. We've just used a simple canvas here, and we created a beautiful wall collage by giving a different look and using 3 pieces and making it look as a continual pattern.
And you actually continued the paint, sort of a freehand.
Yes, continue your pattern down the sides, and then when you place this on your wall, you want to leave no more than 1 inch between so that it looks like one piece.
So just your eye just flows and it looks like one piece of art. That's beautiful. Is that very hard to do?
No, not with the stencils. So your friends are all going to be really impressed when they see something like this.
Okay. And you said we just start with a regular canvas. A lot of people, especially artists, would have these in various sizes, and you can get them from little tiny to huge.
Right. You could, buy a canvas small enough just to cover 1 stencil. But, I just want to show you the basic way we started out with the base color.
And what type of paint are we using?
These are just acrylic paints.
So they're water-based.
I'm using a sponge. Now this is just for our background. Now we didn't do anything special here. This kind of looks two-tone when you look at this, but we did not prime this first, so however, whatever kind of look
it almost looks variegated or wood-grained, if you will.
So whatever look you're going for, you can create that. So
you can do some lights, some darks, and really pull the paint if you want it to be very thin.
Right. So this is the basic idea for our background.
And acrylic dries real fast, doesn't it?
Yes, that's the nice thing about that. So then you're going to take this is our nature stencils, and we simply want to tape it down after this is completely dry. Tape it down so it won't move around on you. And we're using a sponge again, and hold this rubbing plate down also to prevent it from seeping through your edges.
That was always some trouble that I had, was I would push it up, so I like the way you're holding it up and kind of dabbing.
Blotting and dabbing so that it won't go underneath the rubbing plate. But you can always touch it up, if that does happen. So this is the basic idea.
And would you leave the stencil on until it's completely dry, or take it off as soon as you painted it?
I would take it off, remove it, so you can always touch up later after it is completely dry.
And we might go back and look at these because the artist just went ahead and put in some little curlicues, added a little more color.
Embellished it.
Just embellished it. So it really does make a nice piece of art.
And as you see here, we have some decorative edges around the stencil.
I'm going to lift this up just a little bit.
This particular stencil has 4 different edges around it, so you can use this to create a beautiful frame or border around your artwork.
That makes it very versatile to buy these.
That's right.
And this is an example. This is very simple.
Yeah, and something just simple is sometimes better and makes beautiful artwork.
So again, we could hang these in a grouping if we wanted to, or one slightly above, depending on where we're putting them in our house.
That's right.
And then you said we go from simple to complex, and this
Yes.
is really complex.
This is a Rungoli stencil.
Rungoli.
And this does, it looks very complex, but this was all created with this one stencil here. And what you want to do is you're going to start in your corner, and to give this a patterned or mirrored effect, you simply flip your rubbing plate over and fill your spots in, and then you just continue flipping it over and over, and you have a continual pattern and make this large artwork here that you see.
Now, this almost looks like it's done with ink.
Yeah, well, these were just done with markers.
Oh, markers.
You can use markers, crayons, paint. So there's many different mediums you can use with this.
And is this probably one of the most complex ones that you have?
Yes, this is a Rungoli stencil. This is popular in Western India, and they use this to celebrate their Festival of Lights, and they adorn their doorways and in their home.
So
with
that's
this
why
stencil.
it's able to make large designs.
Yes. So
I'd never heard of that. Well,
And-
stenciling has certainly come a long way, and I appreciate
Yes,
you
it
being here
has.
to show us some of the things to do. It's still simple, but there's a few things you need to know, like taping down the stencil.
That's right. And you can always, embellish and add to it, and create your artwork.
And
with
what about your
extra
website,
things.
in case people want
Yeah,
to get more information?
For more designs that are available and ideas, you can go to royalcode.com for that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing this
Thank
with us
you,
today.
Sheryl.
Patty, thank you so much for being here. I love to sew, and yet sometimes I feel like I'm out of touch with what's going on. New techniques, new machines, all of this. So I'm always glad when I have someone on who's sort of up to date on that. And you're going to talk to us about using elastic in the bobbin, but how did you start doing this?
Well, I just like to play. Of course, I've seen techniques where they've used this, and I just like to play and see how much texture I can get to change the fabric. Sometimes you can change it, make it look different, and you don't maybe like the fabric the way it is, and so when it puckers up, it looks better.
Looks better. Okay, let's show a couple of examples. And this I certainly had no idea you had used elastic.
Right. This is like ruching, and so you actually go down and over across the same stitches, and then the wider apart you stitch, the more bubble will come up. So if you get real close, then you get a bubble that looks more like that other piece right there,
This
that blue one. Yes.
Oh.
Same thing, but see how much closer that one is.
Right.
Yes.
That's really pretty.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
this is hard to believe you made this. You did an excellent job.
well, thank you. This is actually ruche. This is not as. This is more like shearing. And we just take a line, and then when it draws up with steam, then it gathers it up. And this is a soft vinyl. You can't do this on a heavy vinyl, or a stiff vinyl, I should say.
So soft is better.
Right. Sometimes a thicker fabric will work, but as long as it has a little bit of softness. If it's got a lot of stiffness to it, then you're in trouble and you can't get it to pull up.
I bet it. Yeah, I bet that. And then you'll talk to us about that. This is a nice. Looks. What is this? A polyester? It's
Right.
just
This
very
is like
soft.
a slinky, very soft knit, and the thread comes in black or white. So I put black thread in this one, and I just did 2 lines. But what's great is you just wrap that around your neck, and it's real drapey, and you can do all kinds of things with that.
Gosh,
and,
you could make a zillion of these in no time.
right,
Just
and
2 rows
scarves
of stitching.
scarves are so popular now too.
Okay, well, we talked about the fabric selection, but how do we set up our sewing? And can any sewing machine be used?
Yes, most machines will do this. It kind of has to do with winding the bobbin. The bobbin is important, and I have heard people say wind it by hand. The problem with winding it by hand is it really doesn't have enough tension on it. It does need a little bit of tension, and this is also thread elastic, and there is a cord elastic also that's thicker. You've got to have thread elastic.
Thread elastic.
Yes. And so basically, if you can bypass that tension disc that's up there when you're supposed to be going with the machine the way it says, if you can bypass that and maybe just go straight into the hook and go from the spool that's laying down, go over the hook and then to the bobbin and wind it slow. If you can slow down, that helps too.
What if your machine doesn't have that ability to bypass the tension?
Yeah, because there may not be a little hook right there.
Mine doesn't
so
have that.
you might go and get one of those little cup hooks that have a suction, it's a little suction cup there, and then bypass it. Just place this close to where that tension disc is.
I see.
The other thing you may want to watch is to make sure that you're going evenly when you're winding, so that it's not all right on the top or right on the bottom. But you can get a pretty accurate bobbin with that. And then the other thing that you want to be sure that you do is when you go ahead and load it, that you get into the tension disc, because the tension disc, I've got my machine needle in here, so it's hard to see. The tension disc is actually real important because sometimes in this drop-in type bobbin case here, it pops back out.
Oh.
So you want to hold the bobbin and then wind it into the tension. Yes.
To bring the lower thread or elastic
and with this machine, it has an automatic cutter. If I take that all the way around to that automatic cutter, it just flips back in.
Oh, okay.
So what I do is I take it in, give myself enough length, and then I do draw the thread up. So I'm sure that it's on the top. And it's not going to grab in. There's also bobbin cases like this, which is a little more, it's actually a front-loading bobbin, and that one you can just do the same way.
Okay.
Just go right through your tension disc, and usually that's just great.
This is the way mine is. So
right,
I'm glad
because
to know
you
that.
do need a little bit of tension. You definitely...
But you don't want to stretch it all the way out either.
But if you stretch it all the way out, then it won't pull up anymore, and then you won't have any give, because you do want some give. So you basically are going to use a straight stitch.
Oh,
yeah, it's
that's
pretty
why any machine will
straightforward and easy to do. And you also will want to take your length probably to a 5 or a 4.5.
Very long.
Yeah, the longer that your stitch length is, the better. So let's just do a little run here with this. And you can see it's gathering a little bit. It's
But you're not
gathering
causing
much.
it.
I try not to pull it all the way out and cut it, because then I end up with having to pull the thread and make sure that the bobbin doesn't
So you
pull
go
back
down
in.
and come around, make a U-turn and come
Right,
back.
I make a U-turn, exactly. So then when I get to the end, with this machine, it's great because it lifts the presser foot on its own.
I noticed that. I like that feature.
Isn't it nice to have something that knows what it's doing? Anyway, so I got down to the end here. Then when I could get out of there and lift my presser foot up, I want to be sure that I pull plenty, because see how much that pops back? So I
That's a
want to
good
pull
tip.
plenty when I get done. Okay, so...
And it doesn't look any different than hardly.
Right, it's barely puckered. But then when you come over here...
And you do this steaming from the back side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you're going to stitch from the top side.
'Cause
And
you want the
in
bobbin.
fact, you can even do a little decorative thread here. You know, more like a color change, and it'll look a little bit like smocking.
Oh, I see.
So,
okay.
yeah.
And this is the elastic thread here on the
Right.
back.
So then when you go to steam this, you can see...
You don't put it on it, I see.
No,
You're just...
you want to stay above it, and it's just actually...
It really does
goes,
shrink
doesn't
up.
it? Yes.
How do you know, I mean, different threads and different fabrics, how do you know how much it will shrink? Like if you were going to make a blouse or something?
Because a lot of times you'll have sizing in it, and there again, you might want to wash the fabric first so that the fabric's softer.
So these were the two same size to start with.
So these two were the same size, yes. And so if I took
About
this,
2 to 1, isn't
this
it?
was
Almost.
this was, and if I had a few more rows on here, it might draw up half. So you can see, what I usually do is I take two 10-inch strips. I do the ruching or the gathering that I want to do, and then when I draw it up, I see it's 5 inches less or half or whatever.
That's
that
a good
gives me
thing.
an idea.
So practice before you actually make something.
Right.
Now, you haven't pressed this, have you?
No, I
And this is denim, what I'd call a
Right.
heavier weight fabric, but
Right.
it's still not as stiff as jackets sometimes.
Exactly. It's still got a softness to
Uh-huh.
it. And if you'll watch, this one also, for some reason, my steam's not coming out right now.
So you do use steam. We want to point that
Yes,
out. Sometimes
you do
know
use steam, and my steam's not coming out.
probably didn't put enough water
I
in it.
probably didn't do enough water. You can kind of see that
So-
it's drawing up a little bit, but the heat of the steam is what pulls it up.
And I would assume that the heavier fabric would take more steam.
Right. Well, yeah. And be sure and be long stitched, long length in your stitch. I can hear it's trying to steam just a little bit, but then you see that it does draw up more when you do the steam.
And this is like the ruching because you've stitched both ways.
Right. Right. And when I do that, I actually draw the lines, and I may put them an inch apart. I may watch the presser foot edge and just do this one presser foot against the line.
Okay.
So it'd be right
Well, this
next
would
to
be
each
fun
other.
to, like you say, to play with, experiment, and then figure out things that you could use it for.
Right.
Well, Patty, thank you so much for showing us how easy this is to do. It's like magic.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Christina, thank you so much for being here. I've really been oohing and eyeing over these beautiful stones. I love jewelry, and I love to see how stones are incorporated in it. But before we start, how did you get so involved in making your own line of jewelry?
Well, to be honest, I've always kind of played around with it. When I was a kid, I would pick up sticks from trees, dried up sticks, and I would bend them into bracelets, and I would wear them during the day. So I think I've always been interested in it. And it was a hobby as I went through college and high school and college. And then I started learning about the gemstone meanings and the properties behind them. And I started thinking that that would be a really great jewelry line, and it could help people kind of get through tough moments in life.
Oh, I
So-
see. That's your premise behind doing it. That's
Yes.
very interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you'd been doing this for 3 or 4 years, but before that, you spent several years just doing research, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I knew all about the metals and the different gemstones and how to care for them and how to pair them and what they mean.
What they mean.
Yeah. So I had some research behind my creation.
That's smart. Some of us start the opposite way and wonder why we don't know what we're doing. We can't go through probably all of them. We'll start out. Let's talk about coral. And I
Okay.
was looking at this, and it's white. I thought
Yes.
coral was red.
Red coral is dyed. This
Oh.
white coral, I tend to use only
Natural.
natural. Some of them are heated to enhance the color, but none of the gemstones that I use are dyed or irradiated. There are
So what
several-
does coral stand for?
Coral stands for visualization, and it protects from evil.
Oh, no wonder I like to
I
wear
know.
coral.
Yeah.
And of course, turquoise is so popular in the Southwest.
Yes, I love turquoise. It's one of my favorites. It's healing and protection, understanding, friendship. So it's fun to kind of make a friendship bracelet out of turquoise.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would be. Let's see, you said your birthstone is aquamarine.
It's aquamarine. Yes, it's courage and intuition, self-expression.
Oh, which you're doing with your jewelry. That's
it
perfect.
banishes fear and nerves. Could be useful right now.
Wow. What about, let's see, garnet. That's my birthstone.
Yes, garnet is awareness and commitment, insight, regeneration, and health.
And health. Oh, good. I like that, too.
Amber's a neat one. It's soothing and calming. You'll see a lot of toddlers nowadays wearing amber beaded necklaces, just short chokers, and it helps with their teething. It kind of soothes them. And,
that's the soothing
yeah,
part.
during that really difficult time.
I'm going to start checking out every
Yeah.
toddler I see.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that, and that's
Yes.
what amber represents.
Yes.
Okay, now pearls. Everybody
Yes.
loves a pearl.
Yeah, purity, innocence, sincerity. Really great. I love having making pearl jewelry for younger girls, high school, middle school.
And it's almost always worn at weddings. You know, there'll
yes.
be some pearls in their necklace or something.
Yeah.
Onyx, that's hard to see because it's black on black, but I love onyx.
Yeah, it reverses stress and grief. It helps with decision making and self-control. Yeah, it's kind of a very, you know, no nonsense gemstone.
And so are there any of these, because of the characteristics, ones that you wouldn't combine with another stone?
No, I would say it's okay to combine any that you would like.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. And you were talking about the crystal quartz to me earlier.
The crystal quartz is interesting because it enhances any other gemstone property. So if you're going to wear it with turquoise, it would enhance the healing or the protection, or maybe enhance the friendship.
Oh, I see.
It would enhance, and maybe those toddlers should wear amber and crystal quartz because the crystal quartz would enhance the soothing
for
from
teething problems. Okay. Now,
Yes.
the rose quartz and crystal quartz, they look very similar.
They're both quartz. Quartz comes in many different colors.
Oh, it does.
Naturally. And they stand for different things. Rose quartz is happiness and love and contentment. And crystal quartz has more to do with kind of elevating your vibrations and your spirituality. It's a very strong stone. So they're just very, very different. Those are the only two quartzes I use, though.
Well, we've talked a little bit about my birthday being a certain time, but could you just quickly go through these and say January is what? Yeah,
January is garnet. February is amethyst. March, aquamarine. That's me.
That's you.
April is diamond. May is emerald.
Oh,
June.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, June is pearl.
Oh, June is the pearl.
July is ruby. August, peridot. September is sapphire. October is opal. November is citrine. And December is turquoise.
Turquoise.
Now, the thing about the gemstones is, you know, you want them to be, the hope is that they have something to do with your zodiac sign because that was when you were born. In reality, it was designed in 1912 by the American Jewelers Association to kind of bring business to the jewelry industry. And so if you don't like your birthstone, not a big deal. You can just choose one you like because it doesn't have that connection to the zodiac that, you know.
Right. I've always loved the sapphire, and that's certainly not my
well, you can adopt
birthstone.
it.
That's it. It's my adopted one, I guess. Well, then we've learned about the stones. We see what month goes with which. This is how you have expressed the jewelry for, and this is the person that would buy this would get this little card that also tells about it.
Yes, I offer a couple different gemstones per saying. So this one is, I'm not afraid of being imperfect, with an amethyst. And so you use the amethyst qualities to kind of wear it and help yourself if you're a person who needs control or is afraid of being imperfect, or, you know, I have other ones of I am beautiful, just a little sweet reminder, you know, that's not words emblazoned across your shirt, you know, it's just your own little reminder that you can wear.
And what's really nice is if someone gave this to you with the sentiment as well as the jewelry, I think that would be even more special. And let's take a look at the I am strong. That's the onyx, isn't it?
Onyx, yeah. Again, that's kind of the no-nonsense gemstone. And yeah, that's a nice one to give if somebody's going through a hard time, or maybe a new mom. You know, it could be strength through kind of any variety of
any circumstance.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting. I appreciate you bringing this. I've never I just, you know, knew which ones went with my birthstone, but I never really realized that that there's qualities to each one of those.
And they've been going back thousands and thousands of years from ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. So they have been tried and true and tested.
You did a lot of research.
I have, yes.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed the show today. Next time on Creative Living, we'll learn all about red quinoa. We'll demonstrate a technique called overstamping and share some whimsical and elegant ways to use candy bark. One of my next guests will explain what red quinoa is and why it's so good for us. Since it's a complete protein, it's a great component for healing advanced muscle loss. Another guest is a designer and crafter, and she's going to show how easy it is to create an awesome effect for your work by combining different specialty stamps and inks to make a one-of-a-kind background. And finally, one of my next guests will demonstrate making whimsical and elegant treats featuring candy bark made with candy melts and numerous embellishments. All of these topics will be featured on the next Creative Living show. If you ever have comments or suggestions or ideas for shows, you can email me at cheryl.borden@enmu.edu. I'd also like to ask you to become a fan of Creative Living on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and in the search window type in Creative Living with Sheryl Borden. Thanks so much, and I hope you'll plan to join me next time for Creative Living.
We're very pleased to offer a new booklet that accompanies this series of Creative Living. This booklet is titled the 6800 Series, and it features a wonderful collection of ideas and information. And it's available free of charge on our website. Posted as a PDF file, you can simply download the entire booklet or just the segments you're most interested in. For your copy of this new booklet, go to our website at KENW.org and then click on Creative Living. Scroll down to the booklet section and you can click on the booklet or on any of the other booklets we have available online. We'd also like to invite you to sign up for our free e-newsletter. Just go to KENW.org and click on the Sign Up Now button and input your email address. Thank you.